Let's talk about the 25 states that are suing the ATF over the pistol brace rule. Salutations, Wolverines, and know that it has nothing to do with Michigan. Everyone keeps on thinking that I'm some type of Michigan fan. I don't think I've ever been to Michigan. Maybe I have and just don't remember that. I've been to a lot of different places. It has to do with the movie Red Dawn, not the crappy remake, the one with Patrick Roadhouse Swayze himself in it. And it has something to do with tyranny, because tyranny always leads to people in the woods with AKs yelling Wolverines. And that is where the Wolverine thing comes from. So let's go ahead and talk about the actual story today. 25 states attorney generals, SB Tactical, the Firearms Regulatory Accountability Coalition, and B&T are suing the ATF over the pistol brace rule. Not only that, but the NRA has kicked in money and resources on helping in the case, even though they are not named in the case. So that is interesting. That means every gun organization is off the bench and in the game besides the National Shooting Sports Foundation. I'm sure the NSSF will get in the game sometime because they represent a lot of companies that are affected by this draconian and tyrannical rule by an out-of-control, overstepping agency known as the AFT. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this case. This case is similar to the GOA Texas case down in Texas, but it is a little different. The GOA Texas case goes after a bunch of different things, including SBRs being on the NFA, but this case doesn't really touch that. This suit deals with the fact that pistol brace firearms do not fall under the Gun Control Act or National Firearms Act definitions. It points out that the original law about shortening pistols or rifles was to make sure that they were not as concealable as they could be, because according to the lawsuit, this was really appealing to criminals. And by pinning a brace on there, you're not shortening the gun at all. What you are actually doing is making it less concealable because it is longer. The plaintiffs claim that the ATF misapprehends the word design. By the ATF standard, it is how a gun is used, and then they can use that to go back and say it was designed for a function. Let's say you design a brace to help someone shoot that is missing an arm, but some people shoulder the brace, and that is the way they are using it, even though that the company didn't design it to be used that way. That's how people are using it. According to the ATF, they can determine that it was designed to be shouldered, even though that the person who designed it never intended it to be shouldered. This is kind of backwards, and the plaintiffs take a big issue with this. They also take an issue with the ATF going after marketing materials. As I said before, this is a First Amendment violation. They also claim that braced firearms are in common use. And we all know by the Heller decision that anything in common use cannot be banned. And let's take this for example. There is millions of braces, even by the ATF standard, which they only used numbers from 2020 and after. Even by those standards, braced firearms are definitely in common use. Just so you know, SB Tactical claims to have sold 2.3 million braces since 2020 alone, and the ATF claims that there's only 3 million braces out there. So that number is way off, since they've been selling them since 2014. How many braces are out there? No one really knows, but it is most likely more than the 3 million that the ATF considers being on the market. Also, get this. They are going after the ATF's holistic approach because it is really ambiguous. The ATF has been really ambiguous when it comes to the amount of surface area that they are considering too much for shouldering, or the length of pole. what they say is if it's similar to common firearms, which what the hell? What the hell does that mean? So without the numbers, no one can be sure if they are producing a brace that falls within the regulation, or will the ATF determine that to be a stock? And that is a big issue, because who's going to take the risk of going to jail by producing something that the ATF says is something else? Or who is going to risk going to jail by putting something on their firearm that can get them locked up for something that they think is legal? It's really ambiguous, and it's meant to be that way to scare gun owners from putting any type of brace on their firearms, even if it falls within the ATF definition of a pistol brace. All right, guys, I really, really need you to subscribe. The majority of you that watch the videos are not subscribed, which is amazing to me. I'm trying to grow my channel, and if you would subscribe, it would help me out tremendously. All right, guys, that's it. So remember, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And with that, I love you very much. Stay ever vigilant, stay ever free, keep in the fight. Wolverine's mother enjoyed the Super Bowl.